I want to dive into Ned the Dead a little bit. How did it even start? How'd you come up with that idea?
Well, I didn't. So the reality is that I was the same young dude who had the sub sandwich experience. I was now 4 years later, and I was working at Channel 11 in news, and I had been there for maybe 3 years, I guess. We're talking 1983. And back in the day, television stations would buy packages of movies because syndicated shows, which now fill the afternoon, let's say, on a TV station, Judge Judy, Family Feud, the game shows, the myriad of talk shows, those did not exist back in the day. So the stations would have to fill that time with things that they purchased. So in general, a television station would purchase 250 movies in a package, and they'd spend, 100,000, 80,000, whatever it is. And then they would get those movies for 3 years. So included, much like every other thing, you've got 8 good movies. You've got 30 acceptable movies. You've got 30 movies on the periphery, and then you've got 50 awful, horrid movies. Well, Channel 11 at the time had one of those packages, and they decided that they wanted to, a lot of them were horror movies, okay, and they decided that they wanted to create a horror host for this market to run a show that would then utilize those movies out of that package so they weren't wasting their money. But, those movies didn't play well at 2 p.m, when Jimmy and Sarah are 4 years old and eating their lunch and suddenly, this bat swoops down and carries someone away.
Yeah.
It didn't work as well. So they wanted a venue for those movies to be, and then they had to make money off of it.
Yep.
So around the country, keep in mind there's no cable at this time. Okay, there is 3 TV stations usually in every market, maybe 4. That's it. Okay, there is no other TV. There is no cable. There is nothing else. And so around the country, they had these horror hosts, and the show would usually be at 10 at night or 11 or 12 on a Saturday night. They'd run those movies, and then the host would come on, and they would sell that, right? Like you would sell to a sponsor Chiller Theater, which is what my show ended up being called.
Yep.
So Channel 11, guy, Dave was the program director at the time, and he said, Steve, how would you like to, we're thinking of having this movie thing, and we would like to know if you would be interested in hosting this. Now, I have no experience with that. I had no theater background. I had been in college radio. I had done that sort of stuff. And then I grew up in Milwaukee, where they always had a show like that, and that guy's name was Dr. Cadaverino. His name was Jack Dublon, was the name of the actual actor. And I grew up watching Dr. Cadaverino. Same thing, though. Dumb movies. He had a stupid beard and a top hat. It just was dumb. And so I said, well, I guess. And of course, the reason they chose me is, number one, I'm goofy. And number two, they don't have to pay me. And so that's pretty much the reason that I got chosen is because I was probably the strangest, most outgoingly weird person at the station out of 120 employees.